You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy Star ship has been designed.
Transporter Chief, beam our listeners aboard. Welcome to Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast on BQN. I am your host, Counselor Amy Nelson, and with me today is Diplomatic Standard Bearer Kevin Scarf. Well, hello.
Happy Canada Day. This episode releases on Canada Day.
July 1st.
It is.
And what are you doing to celebrate Canada Day, Kevin?
Well, I am finally going to put my new clowning skills to work, and I'm going to be in the local parade, and I'm going to be entertaining children all afternoon at our local Canada Day festivities here in Orillia, Ontario. Oh. I'm very excited and nervous and excited, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think your nerves are just at the beginning, because once you get there, I'm
just planning to have a good time and tell some stories, sing some songs, play some games.
Yes.
And I think it'll be fun. The day starts with a parade of decorated bicycles. Kids decorate their bikes with flags and streamers, and I'm hoping to be there early enough to watch this parade of little kids on their very decorated bicycles. So
I totally remember doing that. Oh yeah, decorating your bike and putting them in between the spokes and doing all the colors.
It's really such an old-fashioned kind of celebration we have in this town. At 2:00, there will be a giant birthday cake to Canada that one of the local bakeries makes, and everybody gets free birthday cake. And the day starts with a pancake breakfast, and there's fireworks at night, and there's a midway with rides, and so it's going to be a fun day.
Oh my gosh, it sounds wonderful.
And now you've been celebrating already all summer, right? So
well, yeah. I just got back from Santa Barbara in Southern California for some wine tasting and visiting some friends. Tim Robertson, longtime friend, he's my Trek wine guy. And I also got to meet up with Kevin Reitzel, who lives in Santa Barbara, and he toured us around. We went to the Santa Barbara Mission and down to the Funk Zone and the pier.
The Funk Zone?
Yeah.
Santa Barbara has a Funk Zone?
They do, and it's closed to traffic for the most part, and they've just got wonderful restaurants and wine bars and, just cute stores just to walk around. And it was beautiful weather. It's always nice. Well, I was a little cold, but, everyone else didn't think so.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, let's check the communications array to see if we have any comments from our listeners. Kevin?
Logs accessed.
It looks like we do. About our episode from last week about interstellar laws and treaties, Paul Wright Jr. said that Kevin is correct. Oh, I knew I liked Paul. A flag officer, which is a U.S. Navy term, is an officer in the admiral ranks, known as general officers in other services. The term comes from each officer's personal flag that is flown whenever that officer is embarked on a naval vessel. Each flag consists of the number of stars the admiral has, 1 through 4.
So when there's an admiral on a ship, then that flag is raised to show, okay, so there we go, a flag officer. I get it.
Interesting.
Yes. And we have another comment from our listener, Matthew Benware, says this was a very interesting episode. Well, thank you so much. I sometimes get a little nervous, like, are these interesting? So I really do appreciate the feedback.
Yes, thanks, Matthew.
This is the captain. Senior officers will report to my ready room immediately.
Well, today we are going to do a character profile And I know the listeners, you're like, we've covered all of them. Well, we are going to cover the House of Duras, very influential in TNG. Now, the House of Duras was one of the great houses in the Klingon Empire, which by 2366 had become highly influential. Outside of the view of the majority of Klingon population, they often have a reputation for deceit and dishonorable practices. The home of the house was located in the first city adjacent to the Great Hall. So I think that sort of sums them up because their reputation for deceit and dishonorable practices definitely shines through in the TNG era.
Right. But I get the impression that the general population of the Klingon Empire doesn't know, right? We know what the Durases did to the House of Moog. We know, and Kempek, the Chancellor, knew what the Durases did. But it was all kept hush-hush to keep the Klingon Empire from falling, right?
Yeah. I mean, the political intrigue. And as I was preparing these notes, like every single Duras person that we're going to highlight worked with the Romulans. And it's like, why is this house just not eliminated from the, even being considered in the political council? Like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are not nice people. And I think if they were in charge of the Empire, there never would have been a Klingon Federation treaty, right?
Yeah. Now, it's so interesting because this is a name that is both a first and a last name, which gets really confusing. So I'll try and figure this out. But I guess House of Duras, that's just going to be the last name. But then we have a specific person that is Duras.
Right. So I get the impression that the house is named after the current leader of the house, right? So it's called the House of Duras because Duras was in charge. The House of Moog was called that because Moog was in charge, and it never changed because Worf never took over the house. Like if Worf had stepped up, would it have become the House of Worf? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, but he did step up after his name was cleared.
Oh, and it stayed the House of Moog.
It did stay the House of Moog until in DS9 he gave his name to Martok and became the House of Martok.
Right.
So it is interesting how these things go. And I was like, there's a lot of other names in Trek that just have one name, like Spock.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they just have one name?
I don't know. And I think because Klingon, I mean, I hate to break this to you, but this whole Klingon Empire thing is a fictional creation of humans, and it's been created over years and years. So I think that the rules get a little murky because it's been added to and tweaked forever, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and there is a tradition in some families where, the father gives his name to the firstborn son. Mm-hmm. I definitely have that in my family with an uncle named Tom Nelson, and his first son is Tom Nelson. So I'm like, okay, Tom, Nelson, sort of like Duras.
Mm-hmm. I got my dad's name. My middle name is my dad's name. So it's not quite as important, but it's there, right? It's in my name.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the first Duras that plays a role in TNG, tangentially in Undiscovered Country, and I don't know how to say his name, Gerard?
I would say Gerard, yeah.
Gerard had betrayed his people to the Romulans, providing them with codes to lower the defenses protecting the Klingon colony on Khitomer. When evidence of this surfaced in 2366, then Chancellor Kempek sought to protect the Empire against a possible civil war by blaming Moog, the father of Worf. Worf challenged this, but when he learned the truth, he agreed to accept discommendation for the good of the Empire. So, Gerard worked with the Romulans, and Khitomer was destroyed. And so here is our first Duras working with the Romulans. And I don't even really know, or do we know, it's been a while since I've watched Undiscovered Country, what was his purpose for betraying Khitomer?
We don't really know, I don't think. And we never actually saw Gerard on screen.
Right.
So Gerard has only ever mentioned that he did this and created the discommendation for the House of Moog and for Worf. I think he just I think power, right? It's gotta be power. And Gerard saw that there could be power in an alliance with the Romulans.
Yeah, so there must have been like some importance of that Klingon colony on Khitomer that if they were destroyed, a grab for the seat. That's all we know that the Duras want.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So now, when Kempek, who was the Chancellor, died in 2367, Gerard's son Duras sought the leadership of the council, standing against Gowron. When Worf discovered that his mate Kalar had been murdered by Duras, he immediately transported to Duras' ship and challenged him. Duras proved to be no match for Worf and was killed, leaving the House of Duras without a leader, as Duras had no legitimate heir, and Gowron was free to take his place as Chancellor.
So, I think the meat of this episode will be talking about Duras. Gerard's son, not the house. I get the feeling whenever I see the episodes with Duras and Worf, like I feel like they are contemporaries, like maybe they went to school together. Oh no, Worf was raised on Earth.
Yep.
Well, there's something there.
I think it still just goes back. Well, Worf was orphaned by the Khitomer attack, right?
Right.
Worf was present, and Worf's family was there when Gerard betrayed the Empire and joined up with the Romulans.
That's right.
So I think that's where our rivalry comes from.
Yeah. And I love Duras. I think he's such a fun character to go up against Worf, in part because he's sort of the antithesis of Worf. Like, he's the opposite. He's the one that's going to be conniving. He doesn't have the honor. He's all about himself and doesn't really care about the Empire, with only the fact that he wants to be in charge of the Empire. And, and Worf is always about honor and integrity and duty, and Duras is the exact opposite with Worf.
Yeah, Duras and his whole house are concerned with power, and Worf and his house is more concerned with honor, right?
So when Kalar starts investigating and wondering what's going on with Worf, and starts pulling up confidential files, Duras finds out. And so I want to ask, do you think that when Duras went to Kalar's quarters to kill her, do you think that he knew that Kalar and Worf were together? I wonder if that would change how he dealt with Kalar.
I don't know. It wasn't really public knowledge that Kalar and Worf were together, but it also wasn't hidden. And they had a child together by this point too, right? So I would think that Duras would have his his eyes and ears everywhere and would know the status of Worf's relationships.
Yeah, because you wouldn't think that he would just go and kill anyone that was, trying to get that information. But it seems, Kalar to be with and joined or, whatever with Worf.
Yeah.
That's a pretty bold move to go against Worf. And maybe Duras didn't know how strong Worf was.
Right. It also seems to me, too, that, Kalar worked for the Federation.
Right.
Kalar was a Federation citizen. I would have thought that a Klingon citizen killing a Federation emissary would have created more ripples in Federation Klingon relations than it ended up doing, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking chess for some reason, and we've got Kalar, out there, but she's being protected by Knight Worf and Bishop Federation. She has two protectors, and for Duras to attack Kalar is really stupid of him to do that.
I would have thought so, yeah.
If he thinks that Kalar's just a pawn, man, if he takes that pawn, she is fully protected, yeah.
Well, as we know, things did not go well for Duras after that, right?
Oh.
So Worf declared his right of vengeance and took out Duras. So,
but not before Duras starts poisoning Kempek.
Yes.
Yeah. Because he wanted to be chancellor, and if he could remove Kempek, I think this was the height of the House of Duras power, political power in the Klingon Empire. I really believe had that not happened with Worf finding out, I think Duras would have been chancellor.
Oh, I think so too.
Because at that point, like everything about the Khitomer had been suppressed, had been lied about. So yeah, the general Klingon population, oh yeah, the House of Duras, I know them.
Yeah. And Gowron didn't look that great either, right? Like Gowron at that point, you were suspicious of him as well. Mm-hmm. He did not look like a good leader for the Klingon Empire either. So, like, whose lot do you throw in with?
Right.
And when one of those lots kills your mate and poisons your friend who is the leader, that's when you decide who to throw your lot in with.
Yeah. And again, Duras has that connection with the Romulans, just like his father, because there was the suicide bomber with the implant in his arm, that bomb. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then it was detected and found that, Romulans. So again, the Duras house is working with the Romulans, trying to get power. And so it makes me think like the Duras really believe that siding and making an alliance with the Romulan is the better choice. And I wonder, because the Romulans are, again, sort of this great and mighty power, that they want to be aligned with them instead of the Federation that's more diplomatic and exploration.
Agreed. Yeah, no, I think the shadiness of the Romulans plays more into the House of Duras' strengths than the diplomacy of the Federation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Well, several months later, Duras' sisters, Lursa and B'Etor, discovered that Duras had an illegitimate son, Toral. Though only a boy, Toral was made House of Duras and inherited his father's claim to leadership of the council. The arbiter of succession, Picard, chose to reject Toral's claim, causing those council members loyal to the House of Duras to withdraw from the council, plunging the Empire into civil war. With this, Chancellor Gowron restored Worf's good name and his family honor. Mm-hmm.
So I think it became public, didn't it, that the Durases had been poisoning Kempek.
Yeah.
Which is a very dishonorable thing to do in Klingon society. That's not a warrior's death.
Yeah, so poisoning Kempek, and this is where the Kittimer attack and that truth came out with Gerard working with the Romulans, as well as Duras working with the Romulans. Like, hello.
Yeah, and Toral didn't know what he was doing. Toral was a boy who dreamed of power, but didn't know really what to do with it once he had it, or even how to get it, right? He was being used.
Oh, yeah. I feel the most sorry for Toral because he didn't really have a chance. And he was being used by his aunts, Lursa and B'Etor, and he was very childish. I mean, he didn't have a lot of experience. He was just being fed information and was being lied to.
Right. And Duras didn't even know Toral existed, did he?
No, I don't think he did.
Right? He was being hidden by his aunts, and they've got some tricks up their sleeve.
Yeah, and I wonder like what makes Toral illegitimate, and why isn't Alexander illegitimate? Because it sort of seems like in the emissary, when we first meet Kalar and they have their little fling in the holodeck, like that was sort of the beginning of their mating and their bonding ceremony.
So the difference is Worf and Kalar were mated. So Alexander was not illegitimate. It was like they had made this... And Kalar didn't really care for the Klingon ceremony, but in Worf's mind, they were mated and bonded. So that makes Alexander legitimate. Whereas Duras had no known mate. There's no record of him ever mating with somebody or bonding in a kind of Klingon ritual. So the fact that Toral is the son of Duras makes him illegitimate because there's no public record of who Duras's mate was, who the mother was.
So then there had to have been some kind of acknowledgement. We don't know if it's going to be like official, government document or just an agreement between Kalar and Worf. Because if there was something publicly known, then I think Duras would have known who Kalar is and the importance.
This is true.
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting because if they were bonded, then why did they need to go through the bonding ceremony again?
Worf likes ceremonies.
He does.
Especially Klingon ceremonies.
He loves the tradition of it all.
Yeah.
Well, and because I was thinking of in Strange New Worlds with Spock and T'Pring, like their fake breakup.
Yes.
And then their rejoining, recommitment. But again, that's just sort of between them.
Yeah.
I know we're going off on a tangent, but I do find it interesting. Like in those relationships and in the 24th century, does the government need to know who our spouse and our mates are? Maybe things are totally changed in the 24th century.
Again, we're talking about the Klingons here who value honor and legacy and ancestry, I think, much more than the Federation does, especially the humans. So I think to the Klingons, it's a big deal who your father is, who your parents are, right? Worf got discommendated from the Empire because of something that his father was accused of, right? Nothing Worf did. There was nothing Worf did that should have led to his discommendation. But because legacy and honor are such an important factors in Klingon life, he accepted that because of tradition, right?
Yeah. So you're right. Yeah, that lineage and ancestry is important. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Toral, technically the leader of the House of Duras, but he was being controlled, as we said, by his aunts Lursa and B'Etor, who were in turn working in collusion with the Romulans again. So Picard was able to prove this and block the Romulan supply convoys from aiding the Duras family forces. Now support immediately fell away, and Gowron's forces stood victorious. Toral was captured by Gowron's forces and brought before the council. Gowron gave Toral's life to Worf, but Worf chose to spare the boy on the grounds that Toral had done him no harm and had merely been a pawn of his aunt's. The Duras sisters continued to fight a private war against the Empire. Now, just as I was saying, how legacy and family are very important to the Klingons, Worf, however, raised by humans, said, just because his family did dirty to me doesn't mean I have to do the same thing to him. So Worf was choosing to be the bigger person here.
Which is interesting because we were talking about how much Worf loves tradition, ritual. So it's like he knew from his father being accused of destroying the colony at Kittimer that when he took discommodation that it was, well, actually Mog's actions was taking effect on Worf and 7 generations, which is absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. But that was true. But then, yeah, he spares Toral and's like, this kid did nothing. And I just wish that he could have used that logic when he was dealing with his son Alexander and trying to, because he hid Alexander. Oh, and he hid Worf's brother. What's his name?
Kern.
Yeah, Kern. It was like, Kern, do not approach this House of Mog because you don't want to be held under that discommodation as I am. So,
yeah,
interesting that he's making that flip.
It is.
When it suits him.
It is. But I think also Worf has this sense of fairness and, we know that Worf has... He will kill somebody if he feels that level of honor has been breached, right? Like he killed Duras because Duras killed Kalar, and under Klingon rules, he had that right. But he also has a sense of morality and some human sensibilities because he was raised by the Rozhenkos and lived on Earth. And so at this point, Toral really hadn't done anything except talk a big game. So Worf stepped back.
Yeah. Yeah. And good thing that he did. It made him the better hero.
It does. It really does make Worf the bigger man, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, those Duras sisters, I love that episode with Tasha Yar. Oh, I mean Sela. Oops. And, the net breaks and they're like, oh, we have an opportunity and it's a trap. And then we finally catch him and it's like, yep, you are working with the Romulans yet again, every single time, people. And it's so interesting because even after the whole thing with Toral, the Klingon people are still supporting the House of Duras because it's like, okay, once they were caught in the act, then it says, oh, then support fell away from the House of Duras. It's like, why are these people supporting the House of Duras? And it just, I bet it's because with everything's going on behind closed doors. And so they're spinning the truth, and I use air quotes there, sending out fake news to the Klingon population. And I'm just supposing a couple things that I've seen politically.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the last we see of Lursa and B'Etor, because in 2371, they work with Dr. Soren, the Elorian scientist in Generations, and they are stealing trilithium from the Romulans in order to assist in Dr. Soren in creating this trilithium-based weapon. They capture LaForge and use his visor to discover the modulation of the shields. The Enterprise was therefore critically damaged as the Duras' weapons fire passed through its shields unhindered. Data was able to force the activation of the Bird of Prey's cloaking device. We're going to cloak! With their shields down, a single photon torpedo was enough to destroy the Duras' ship, killing them in the process. No more Lursa and B'Etor. I'm still a little sad.
They were great villains.
They were.
And up till this point, Star Trek really hadn't had a lot of great female villains. And the Duras sisters really were. Mm-hmm. They were, they reminded me of the witches from Macbeth, just sort of cackling all the time and plotting.
Oh, yeah. That's a good connection.
They were pulling strings. They didn't like to be in the foreground. They like to manipulate people to do what they needed to do.
Definitely, I would say that with Lursa and B'Etor. I think Duras liked being the one out front, but I think in part because Klingon is such a patriarchal society that Lursa and B'Etor knew that as women, as female, that they really couldn't be the face of the House of Duras.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we're used to working in the background. That's a good point.
At some point, Lursa did admit that she was pregnant with another heir to the House of Duras. This was slightly before the events of Generations, but we never saw the baby, and it wasn't mentioned in Generations when Lursa was killed. So, is that baby out there somewhere? Perhaps.
Ooh, yeah, that happened in DS9, huh?
No, that was on the TNG episode Firstborn.
Firstborn, that's right.
Yes. But the House of Duras did make one more appearance after Generations on DS9. I mean, the Duras sisters showed up in the first season, but in season 4, I believe, of DS9 it is, the episode Sword of Kahless, Toral came back. Toral was felt he was on a holy quest to find the Sword of Kahless, but of course... Dax and Worf got there first. So, yeah. And instead of using the Sword of Kahless to take control of the Empire, Worf and Jadzia toss it off into space. So,
they did? Why don't I remember that?
Yep.
The actual sword, they just threw it out in space?
Yep. So this is according to Memory Alpha. Toral attempted to take over the Empire in 2372, where he met with the Dahar Master Kor on Torna 4, where Kor drunkenly told him that he had discovered the Shroud of the Sword and that it would lead him to the Sword of Kahless. Toral sent Soto, a Lathian, to probe Kor's mind on DS9. Using the information Soto retrieved and believing that if Toral could wield the sword, he could take over the Empire, Toral traveled to the Gamma Quadrant. However, Kor, Worf, and Jadzia Dax had already discovered and retrieved the sword and managed to escape Toral and his henchmen. The sword was later jettisoned into space, thwarting another attempt of the House of Duras to conquer the Empire. So Toral is still out there, probably somewhere plotting to take over the Empire.
Probably.
We don't really know the state of the Klingon Empire past the end of Deep Space Nine, really. So at that point, Martok was Chancellor, right?
Mm-hmm. Do we know who comes after Martok? I mean, off the top of your head?
No, no idea. We haven't seen the Klingons in 31st Century Discovery yet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been no talk of the Klingons at all on Picard. Or Lower Deck, really.
Well, that leads me to ask, does the Duras family have a chance to be seen again? Which series do you think would make for the best sense for Klingons, Duras family to show up?
I could see them showing up in season 3 of Picard because of Picard's link to the Klingon High Council as in his former role as Arbiter of Secession. That could come back. It could be fun to see how Mariner deals with Toral on Lower Decks.
That would be fun.
Yeah. But those are the only 2 shows right now that are, and Prodigy is set in that sort of time frame too, but that's not
they're
gonna touch the
Delta
Klingons.
Quadrant. So I was thinking I would like to hear of the House of Duras in Strange New Worlds.
Oh.
Because we could get that, you know, sort of the pre-story, go back to Gerard and the house with him building up and trying to, you know, get power and sort of what leads up to the attack on the Khitomer.
Was the House of Duras wasn't one of the houses mentioned in early seasons of Discovery?
It has to be. Well, no. Okay. So Memory Alpha says that they were highly influential by 2366. So before then, they were just still in the working. So I don't know if they were a great house at the beginning when we are introduced in Discovery.
So Toral, though, was named after his ancestor Toral, who died in battle with the Enterprise trying to capture Jonathan Archer at the Delphic Expanse.
So we have two Torals.
There are two Torals.
Oh my goodness. So then we could see...
So the House of Duras was around in the time of Strange New Worlds.
Yeah. So I would like to see that in Strange New Worlds. I think it makes sense, you know, with that series because of our situation with the Klingons, how we're not united, we're not allies.
Right. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
So it would be fun to see how why can't I think of her name right now? The Chancellor, she's Mary
Chieffo.
Mary Chieffo's character.
Laurel.
How Chancellor Laurel deals with the House of Duras.
Yes, please. Oh my gosh, that totally needs to be an episode in Strange New Worlds. Yep.
Wouldn't it be fun to see like a Game of Thrones type series set about the set in the factions of the Klingon houses, like the 24 Klingon houses and how they manipulate against each other, some sort of like family political drama and intrigue with the Klingon houses? That could be fun to watch.
Yes.
And I don't even love Klingon stories that much.
I know, and listen to you coming up with all these fun ideas. Okay, so Strange New Worlds. We start out with Laurel. She is Chancellor of the Klingon Empire at this time. And here we have Toral trying to build his power by doing some kind of attack and starts attacking, say, some Federation ships. So here comes Captain Pike in the Enterprise, and he has to link up with Laurel to find who's actually attacking the Federation ships and then find out that it's Toral.
And back in the days of the original series, weren't the Klingon ships and the Romulan ships, didn't they look a lot alike? They were. Yeah. It could have been the House of Duras that was forging those links between the two empires.
Yep. Oh, that would be a great episode. I'm sort of impressed because I'm never really good at these what ifs, but I'm liking that episode.
So I hear you've got some trivia.
So Duras is the name of a penultimate king of the ancient kingdom of Dacia from 68 to 87 AD. Now, the kingdom of Dacia is in the Roman kingdom, that's not what we say, the Roman Empire. That's funny. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to look at this map, and I don't have a very good map.
Oh, I'm looking at the one on Wikipedia. And it's it's on the Black Sea.
Oh, yes. Where would that be now?
Okay,
Romania,
according to Wikipedia, it corresponds to the president countries of Romania and Moldova, as well as small parts of Bulgaria, Serbia, Hungary, Poland, Slovakia, and Ukraine.
Look at me knowing my geography. Oh.
World traveler, you? That's very interesting.
Yeah, that it's based in real life. Maybe Chrissy could do a history with the Szilagys about the kingdom of Dacia.
That would be interesting because I had never heard of the kingdom of Dacia before this.
Yeah.
So Other trivia here, I see that you've pulled up. Robert Blackman was responsible for designing Lursa and Bator's Klingon uniforms. Their revealing bust line was quickly referred to by fans as Klingon cleavage with a K. So neither Barbara Marsh nor Gwyneth Walsh used chest padding. That was all them.
That was all them in their glory. And I am not kidding you. That is like my dream cosplay. If I could.
Oh.
I loved their uniforms, their look. I just absolutely loved it.
Hey, listeners, is there somebody who can make that happen? I would love to see Amy in a busty Klingon uniform.
I need to show some Klingon cleavage.
Klingon cleavage.
Well, I just think it's feminine, but still warrior, still, all the armor, but there's something flowy about it. It's just the perfect mix, of that fierce and feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, Duras was played by Patrick Massett, who recalls, quote, "When I was auditioning, they told me to think of a Shakespearean savage," sort of what you referenced, Kevin. He says, "a kind of civilized wild animal. There was controversy in the character. He was both poetic and barbaric. I think he was committed to clearing his family name at all costs, even at the cost of his personal honor."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is a great Shakespearean villain. Sort of a Polonius type who's like trying to pull strings and make things happen.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, final thoughts on the Duras family. Like them anymore, or do we like them even less?
I think I've said this many times on the podcast. The Klingon storylines are not my favorites, but they are intricately plotted. And they have come up with some really fantastic characters. And for actors, there's nothing more fun than to sink your teeth into a juicy villain part. And I think any member of the Duras family falls into that category, especially Duras himself and the sisters. So they really spice up the next generation, and especially Worf. They give Worf a face for his enemies, right?
Yes. Yeah, very good. Yeah, for Worf to play off of. And now after going through this, I was just thinking, like we talked about, every single Duras, there has been a Romulan connection, which only leads me to believe, why am I the idiot that is not recognizing this, especially by the time when we get to the net where Lursa and Bator are working with Sela. Hello, I should have known they were working with the Romulans. And then again in Generations, when they're working with Dr. Soren, I should have known they were still working with the Romulans. Like, what is wrong with me? It's almost, after this discussion, getting a little old. So now I might want to change my Strange New World what if, that we can see the Duras, but it just might be too, on the nose that they're working with the Romulans. So maybe with something else, working with someone else. But then again, you've got the tradition of the Duras family working with the Romulans. So it might be, some fan service or two bunk on the head. I don't know. But I think that would be good. And they, like you said, really give a great villain for Worf to work off of. And do we have like this Worf Duras? Do we have something that substantial with another of our main characters with a main villain?
The only thing sort of similar, I guess, might be Picard and Q, but that's not quite as tension filled as this is. Q's more an annoyance, than a villain. To Picard, so I would say no. I would say no. I would think that family feuds are the purview of Worf.
Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, the first one I thought of was maybe Picard and Q, but yeah, that's not really the same. So this whole Duras family was created for Worf. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of on any show, any of the Star Treks, if there are villains specifically created for certain characters. I mean, maybe the Borg Queen and Picard.
Yeah, that is very interesting. The House of Duras is unique in that, I would say.
There is the Founders and Odo on DS9. That's that's finding out that your own family are villains. That's a slight difference. I can't think of anybody on Voyager who has an enemy.
Yeah.
Khan and Kirk.
Yeah.
So
I like that one, but it's not as continuous as the Duras with. Oh. Yeah.
Incoming transmission.
Well, listeners, you can tell us what you think of the Duras family and also tell us where you would like to see them pop up or maybe not. Maybe they've had their run. But let us know in the Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also tweet your thoughts at Galaxy Class Pod. We'd love for you to reach out. You can also follow our network on Twitter and Instagram at BQN Podcasts.
So please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and a written review. That helps others find the show.
Previously on BQN. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast.
I think that's kind of the flaw of his genetic manipulation is I have to defeat my enemy. And in his mind, just like Moby Dick, the enemy is Captain Kirk, so he kind of blows his chance. In fact, in some ways that maybe saves the galaxy because if Khan had just kind of taken off and I got Reliant, I got Genesis, I'm out of here. Who knows what he could have gone and done.
Galaxy Class, a Star Trek The Next Generation podcast.
I think for cosplay, for me, a good way to put it is low effort, maximum impact, and you want to get that balance. Yeah, you don't want to put in thousands of hours of effort for it to look all right. So I put in little bits of effort and usually get a good result out of it.
Mickey's Marvels, a Disney podcast.
Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers otherwise feels like something that they would just reboot into a modern day cartoon like they've done with DuckTales. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did with like Darkwing Duck or Tailspin or any of those.
You will find these and more of your favorite podcasts on BQN.
So Amy, where can people find you when you are pulling the strings and manipulating your minions to do your evil bidding?
Oh, because I'm behind the puppeteer. Well, you can find me here on the network. A little bit.
A little bit
more once school starts. But I do pop on All Good Things. I am on Union Federation. I am on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, and of course in our Facebook group. And Kevin, where can people find you when you are conniving with the Romulans and blaming it on Joe?
It is all Joe's fault. Joe can die at the hands of the Federation scum. If I'm not plotting and conniving, you can find me regularly on True North Nerds, a general geek and nerdery podcast, Stage Whispers, the local theater podcast, which I do about theater here in Central Ontario. I've popped up on some other podcasts lately too, including Mickey's Marvels, where I got to discuss the new series of Obi-Wan on Disney Plus with Casey and Tribs, and Christos was on that episode as well. That was a fun night talking about that. I stayed up way too late talking about Star Wars because they're all on the West Coast. And I was also on an episode of Union Federation not long ago, too, filling in for Miss Amy Nelson.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. It takes a family.
It does.
It does.
And we also recorded a Patreon special, which I'm sure we're going to talk about shortly. So the very first one of our patron hangouts we recorded a couple of weeks ago. And I'm sure if you're a patron, you've already heard it. And if you're not a patron, it'll show up in your feed soon.
Yes.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Well, if you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron on the network on Patreon. Again, we're putting out more exclusive content like It's Green and Amy's Math Moments that you won't want to miss. With a monthly Patreon subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings on the Hive Mind, and those take place the second Saturday of every month. Watch your Patreon messages for details. If you feel so inclined, please check out all the details on patreon.com/BQN. And a huge shout out to our very own associate producer, Jim McMahon, who is our Trivia with Jim. We are so grateful for your support.
Now, at this time, we would like to thank our executive producers who make this all possible. And those people are Mark White, Amy Nelson, Tony Robinson, and Ken Tripp. Now, special thanks to Tony for our artwork.
Thank you for beaming aboard Galaxy Class. And until next time...
Worf has made a choice, and he will die for it.
Great joy and gratitude.
Engage.